I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
The
More.
You
No.
Podcast.
Today I want to discuss aspects of focused thinking that John Maxwell talks about in his book How Successful People Think. Focused thinking removes distractions and mental clutter so that you can concentrate on an issue and think with clarity. Being able to focus on a task at hand is one of the most vital aspects to being able to pursue anything successfully. If you're somebody who wants to become a high performer or craft a life of significance, you must be able to harness your focus. So I want to go through several things that John mentions that focused thinking can do for you, go through some suggestions he has for where you should focus your thinking, explain some suggestions he has for how you can stay focused, and finally some realizations that you must have surrounding some sacrifices that you must make in order to have proper focus surrounding your pursuits. So I now want to go over the several things that John mentions that focused thinking can do for you. The first is focused thinking harnesses energy toward a desired goal. Focus can bring energy and power to almost anything, whether it be physical or mental, and it's important to understand that the greater the difficulty of the problem or issue, the more focused thinking time is necessary to solve it. Then number 2 is focused thinking gives ideas time to develop. When you're going through the brainstorming and creative thinking process, discovering and developing ideas, you must implement focused thinking. When your focused thinking is at its best, that's when ideas grow the most. After that, number 3 is focused thinking brings clarity to the target. Focus not only helps you to know the goal, but to also achieve it. And finally, number 4 is focused thinking will take you to the next level. No one achieves greatness by becoming a generalist, and you don't hone a skill by diluting your attention to its development. The only way to get to the next level is by focusing. And now that we understand what focused thinking can do for you, I now want to share some suggestions that John has for where you should focus your thinking. The first suggestion is to identify your priorities. You should first take into account your priorities for yourself, your family, and your team if applicable. Consider things like the 80-20 rule, which I've previously discussed on the podcast. And what it comes down to is give your attention to the areas that bear the most fruit, not just from a financial perspective, but from a fulfillment perspective as well. Next, you should discover your gifts. Take a personality profile such as a Myers-Briggs test if necessary, or even just spend some time reflecting on the past. What's important to understand is that if you're going to focus your thinking in your areas of strength, you must obviously know what they are. From here, you should then develop your dream. If you want to achieve great things, you have to have a great dream. And if you're unaware of your dream, you should use focused thinking time to help you discover it. And what's important to understand is that as you get older and more experienced, the need to focus becomes more critical. The farther and higher you go, the more focused you need to be. And now that I've gone through these suggestions, I now want to go through John's suggestions for how you can stay focused. The first is to remove distractions. Removing distractions is no small matter in our current culture, but it's absolutely critical. In order to remove distractions, you first must maintain the discipline of practicing your priorities, as well as having your priorities in order. And as John says, don't do easy things first, or hard things first, or urgent things first. Do first things first, meaning the activities that give you the highest return. By doing so, you'll keep distractions to a minimum. You should also insulate yourself from distractions. You must be able to go off into your thinking place and make yourself unavailable when necessary so that you can work without interruptions. You must understand the value of both renunciating yourself when necessary and interacting with others. From here, his second suggestion is to make time for focused thinking. Once you have a place to think, you need the time to think. And most importantly, focus on not multitasking, and instead be presently focused on one task at a time. After that, number 3 is to keep items of focus before you. To concentrate on things that matter, keep important things around you. This could include to-do lists, alarms, and many other things. Next, number 4 is to set goals. It's vital to understand that goals are important and the mind won't focus without clear objectives. But with this being said, the purpose of goals is to focus your attention and give you direction, not to identify a final destination. And as you think about your goals, you should take note that they should be clear enough to be kept in focus, close enough to be achieved, and helpful enough to change lives. These guidelines will not only get you going, but assist in enabling you to make a tremendous impact. And most importantly, you must write down your goals. If they're not written, you're probably not focused enough on them. And finally, his fifth suggestion is to question your progress. You must honestly take a good look at yourself from time to time to see whether you're making actual progress. This is the most accurate measure of whether you are making the best use of focused thinking. And now that I've gone through all of John's suggestions, I now want to go through some reflections he has regarding what you give up by having focused thinking, and things you must be aware of. The first is that you can't know everyone. The second is that you can't do everything. The third is that you can't go everywhere. And the fourth is you can't be well-rounded, which I don't entirely agree with. Focused thinking is one of the most vital aspects of any pursuit. If you want to make a tremendous impact in this world and craft a life of significance, you must understand where you should focus your thinking, how you can focus your thinking, and have important realizations regarding what's to come with focused thinking.
I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
The
More
You
No
Podcast.